Good evening and welcome to this edition of The List on UWW-TV. I'm Matt Ellis alongside Nolan Kopidlowski. For the next few minutes, we'll present our top 5 sports stories of the week and discuss why they made the top 5. Did your top 5 make our list? Let's find out. At our number 5 sports story of the week, the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater women's basketball team gets a crucial win against Illinois Wesleyan Saturday night in a 72-54 victory in a second round game of the 2022 NCAA Division III Championship. With the win, the Warhawks advanced to the Sweet 16 where they'll face Smith on Friday, March 11th. What do the Warhawks have to do to keep up their success in the Sweet 16?
You know, I think the Warhawks really just have to keep up their great defense. I mean, you look at that game against Ripon where they had 14 blocks, I believe. It was just absolutely astounding, and then they started raining the threes in when facing Illinois Wesleyan. I just think that they have to keep up their defensive success, though. That will be the key to them advancing further, and they do have home court advantage now up until the Final Four, so that'll be big for them.
Yeah, it's definitely something they got to do, especially like Aaliyah Grundall and Joanna Taylor just got to go in the paint and really, make their presence known. And yeah, the Warhawks could be pretty successful going forward for the duration of this tournament.
Absolutely. And moving along to some NFL news, at our number 4 spot, the Atlanta Falcons wide receiver Calvin Ridley has been suspended by the NFL indefinitely, at least through the 2022 season, for violating the NFL's gambling policy. News surfaced that he was betting on games during a 5-day period back in November in 2021. Ridley will be ineligible to apply for NFL reinstatement until at least February 15th, 2023, assuming he does not successfully appeal his suspension. Matt, what are your thoughts on his suspension, and what can the Falcons do to make up for his absence in the offense?
Look, we'll start with the Falcons and what they can do on offense. It's an offense that does need a lot of work. In fact, I believe they don't really have a lot of wide receivers going forward. They have one on the 53-man roster. So, going forward with that offense, you just got to go and address your needs through the draft and in free agency and hope a guy like Allen Robinson, who is coming off kind of a down year, could maybe buy into Atlanta. And you might have to overpay for a couple of free agents, but in Atlanta's case, I think it's fine. Just go out and get a couple of good wide receivers, and they're definitely out there, such as Michael Gallup and a ton of other guys. But yeah, for Ridley, it's just something that you can't do, right? There's really nothing to say except for Ridley. You just got to know that it's not something you can do. For our next story, Brooklyn Nets star Kevin Durant returned to the lineup Thursday night against the Miami Heat for the first time since January 15th as he suffered a sprained MCL against the Pelicans. Durant did everything he could in his return, finishing with a game-high 31 points, but it wasn't enough as the Heat were defeated 113-107. Nets struggled considerably without Durant, finding themselves sitting 8th in the Eastern Conference standings with a 5-16 record without Durant. With the Nets getting healthy and Kyrie Irving returning to home game, can the Nets turn it around and be the dominant team we know they can be?
I absolutely think they can, and I actually think shedding James Harden was a good fit, because granted, they never really meshed together. Kyrie, Kevin Durant, and Harden just never really meshed in my book. They didn't get many games. I don't think they got more than 20 games together. And I really like the depth that they added. The key will be, when does Ben Simmons come back? Because honestly, Ben Simmons is such a defensive ally for them and really a great defensive weapon that it'll be crucial to when he comes back. But Seth Curry is playing amazing. Kyrie Irving, like you said, is coming back, and now that Kevin Durant is coming back as well and he could be the star player on that team again, I think the Nets can absolutely get it going. But at this point, is it too late? That's another discussion to be had.
Yeah, I think the Nets can definitely make something happen, especially with that fit of Ben Simmons in the half-court offense. In terms of their transition and fast break, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense as Ben Simmons loves to push the paint, but the half-court offense for the Nets is certainly going to be something to worry about for a lot of those Eastern Conference teams. We have some blockbuster NFL news coming up on the list. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Jitters Coffee House. Located on the first floor of the Wells Towers, Jitters is a student-run coffee lounge and offers a variety of coffee and ice cream-based drinks and is home to many entertaining programs, including live music, gamer trivia nights, and other performances. Coordinate your activity by emailing jitters@uww.edu. Jitters is completely run by volunteers who can earn service hours and even receive a free drink during their shift. Stop in tonight at Jitters Coffee House, where fun events and community come together.
Welcome to the University Bookstore. The University Bookstore provides students with the opportunity to purchase apparel, gift items, textbooks, snacks, supplies, and other necessities right here on campus. The bookstore is also home to textbook rental, where you can find many of your required textbooks. Our friendly staff always goes the extra mile to provide customers with a quick and pleasant experience. Visit the bookstore today to find great deals on everything you need to succeed as a Warhawk.
The UC can get you connected to all your basic needs. Grab a coffee and a meal. Study by the fireplace. Bowl, play, and relax when you want to break from homework. The UC has much more to offer to Whitewater students. Go to the UC's website to see what's going on this week.
I forgot to say real quick, for the last story, do you want to do the Packers
Welcome back to The List on UWW-TV. Let's continue the countdown to this week's top 2 sports stories. At our number 2 story of the week, Duke University's Mike Krzyzewski coached his final home game on Saturday. In 41 seasons at Duke, no coach in Division I men's basketball history has won more games than Coach K. He has won 6 gold medals as head coach of the U.S. men's national team, 5 national championships, and is a 12-time Final Four participant. However, the game didn't go completely as planned, as North Carolina spoiled Coach K's final game with a 94-81 victory over the 4th-ranked Blue Devils. Well, with March Madness right around the corner, do you think Coach K has one final magical tournament run left in him, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think Duke can do something pretty interesting in the tournament. Obviously, well coached. So yeah, Duke is always a threat come March, and in this tournament, they're definitely going to beat out a lot of good teams. But in terms of Coach K's legacy, I mean, he's definitely leaving behind a lot. He was a very big guy in terms of the men's Olympic basketball, obviously being the coach, and what he did for Duke as well, really turning around that program. And for a guy who wasn't even considered the #1 candidate to come into Duke, get that job, and still do a good job over how many years now, for these decades and decades, it's quite impressive. He's one of the all-time basketball coaches, and it's very impressive that he never really made the switch to the NBA. He's stuck with the college route, and ultimately he's one of the best coaches ever.
I couldn't have said it better myself. I really think that he has a good squad this year at Duke as well. I think Duke is a team that's kind of flying under the radar a little bit. I know they're one of the higher ranked teams, but at least from people I've talked to, they're not really picking them as a champion. They like Gonzaga or Arizona a lot better. But I really think that Duke has an opportunity to win a title here, and I think it would be the perfect kind of send-off for Coach K in his final season. Winning one more championship, it would be big for him.
Yeah, it definitely would be very fitting for Coach K to go out in some style. But for our #1 sports story of the week, at our #1 spot, after months of drama and speculation, Aaron Rodgers will be back with the Green Bay Packers in 2022 and beyond. The reigning NFL MVP agreed to a 4-year, $200 million extension with the Packers that will make him the highest player in NFL history. Now, there was a lot of rumors about Rodgers being traded to Denver, but ultimately he decided to stay in the green and gold. However, the Broncos did not go home empty-handed, as on Tuesday they acted fast and traded for Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson. What are your thoughts on Rodgers re-signing with the Packers after all the offseason drama, and what do you think of the Russell Wilson trade?
Well, I'll start with the Aaron Rodgers impact on the Green Bay Packers. I always thought that Aaron Rodgers was going to come back to Green Bay or he was going to retire. But for the Green Bay Packers, I think that this keeps them in the Super Bowl hunt, no doubt, now that they franchise tagged Devontae Adams and re-signed Rodgers on the same day. I think Aaron Rodgers is also a big-time team player here. If that deal that was reported is accurate, because Aaron Rodgers did kind of call it into question, its accuracy, but if that is indeed the deal, then I think that helps them a lot in the immediate future with the cap space. They can afford to bring back some of their other free agents, as they do have a lot this season. But Aaron Rodgers, I feel like his announcement was almost upstaged by the Broncos news.
Yeah, I mean, that Broncos news was quite incredible, as Russell Wilson is going over to Denver. Now, I'll say this about the Broncos. The one thing it for sure brings is just excitement to Denver. When you bring in a quarterback of his caliber, who's somewhere around that top 10 range coming off of an injury, there's certainly just a lot of hype for Denver. Now, as for their ability to compete in the AFC, it's definitely going to be tough. There's a plethora of good teams, and even teams last year who didn't have this kind of season they wanted to, such as the Steelers, Ravens, Broncos, Steelers, Ravens, and Browns. There's a lot of good teams in the AFC that the Broncos are now going to have to compete with, and it's still a question to say, if they're even the second best team in their division, or, there's also a case that they're the worst team in their division. But for the Broncos, the one thing they did get is hope, and that's one of the most important things that the fan base in Denver really just needs right now.
You're absolutely right. I think that Russell Wilson brings hope that they can be a Super Bowl contender. A lot of people said all they needed was one big quarterback. Now they have the big quarterback, and it'll be time to test, is that indeed all they needed, or do they have other pieces that they need to fill on their team?
And that will do it for this edition of The List. We'll be back next week to talk of the sports headline. For Nolan Kopolowski, I'm Matt Ellis. See you next week.